I am just getting everything started over on YouTube. So if you're listening on YouTube, welcome. If you're listening to the recording afterwards, then welcome as well. On Spotify or YouTube or wherever you are hanging out. Glad to have you over in these areas. And additionally, we have been having a watch party. So a watch party has been started yesterday, Friday, and will go on this evening for episodes 4 and 5, and will go on again tomorrow for episodes 6, 7, and 8. So super excited about that. Really looking forward to it. Today our topic is going to be about Star Wars, Acolyte fans' takes on Star Wars. Super excited to get into this one because I am a massive fan of Star Wars, sci-fi in general. I see JC has come on, so welcome JC. Just waiting for other people to come on the stream. And again, if it's a small crowd tonight, that's okay because we will talk for the I will talk at least for the entire hour. But whoever else is on, we will all talk for the entire hour, hour and a half. So it's all good. There will be a show regardless of how many people are in the room. But
Feel
hey,
free to shut me up at any time.
yeah. Welcome, guys. And I do want to start off, because I don't think I said it yet. I do want to start off by saying, hey, Disney, Star Wars, Lucasfilm, we would like our show back. It's a fantastic show. Here we are in week like 10 or something, 12, I've lost count. Here we are in another week, again, speaking about how awesome this show inspires us to watch it and write fanfic and make fan art and talk to other fans and make theories. This show is just fantastic. And you're kind of like robbing us a little bit. So I would appreciate if you would go ahead and do
You're
it.
you're kind of getting dragged in the media right now too, Lucasfilm and
Oh my
Disney and Star
goodness.
Wars. Like I don't know if if you've been following the media lately. It's there's a lot of positivity surrounding the Acolyte coming out right now. And every
Right.
day, we see new fans post like, "Oh, I watched it. What were y'all talking about? This is badass." So, like,
Right? I know. Every day there's someone talking about, you guys all told me this was a bad show, but it's actually awesome. So I don't understand what you guys were talking about. Just bizarre. Bizarre, bizarre, bizarre. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and post the rules to the space. And if I can find my bookmarks. Yeah, there we go. I do want to also mention, before we get into the topic, that the Acolyte visual guide is available for pre-order. I'm super excited. It comes out next summer, this upcoming summer. So I'm super excited about that.
I
So
already
if you're
got my copy
interested,
reserved.
yes, yes, there's so much good stuff coming out.
Uh,
I'm really stoked for all of it.
Yeah, I picked up the digital copy of the Insider with the Acolyte guide too. It's pretty cool. It's shorter than I want it to be, but it's got some cool stuff in there.
Amazing. Love it. Okay, well, I do see, I'm just gonna go ahead and if you would like to speak, you can speak. And if you don't, Isla, then don't feel pressured to, but I just sent you an invite anyway. Um, okay, so we're getting into the topics for today. First topic, best fights. Acolyte, well, not just in the Acolyte. So the topic today is on all Star Wars. It's on the shows, the movies, the animations, the video games, just everything Star Wars. So let's get into it. In all of Star Wars, not including the Acolyte, in all of Star Wars, what are the best fights?
Well, I do just want to go on record as saying I do think that the Acolyte has some of the best fights, and I
Yeah,
think
it does, clearly.
I think for me the fight between Soul and Chimera in the finale is probably the best fight we've ever had.
Yes, I know. You've said that before. You've said like in all of Star Wars, you think that's
Yes,
the best fight,
and in all of Star Wars, and I
which
think
I
that
think is a very. I'll back you on that, but that's quite a claim. That's
it's
quite
quite
a
a claim.
claim.
Yes, I know. Uh, to me, the fact that it is live action factors into it for me because the contention has always been that you can do you have more capabilities in animation. Whether it's the games or the animated
Right.
series or the comics or whatever. You can do more because in the live action you have to actually pull it off with real people and props and stuff. So the fact
Hmm.
that I think Leslie intentionally pushed the envelope in that way, because she definitely drew some influence from the games, was really cool. And I think so that's a factor. Like they've done some, definitely in Clone Wars and in some of the games like Knights of the Old Republic, they've done some crazier stuff with lightsaber duels, but
Uh-huh.
it's animated. So like for me, the Soul Chimera fight is the best. But to answer your question, going away from the Acolyte, my favorite has always been Duel of the Fates. I'm a Duel of the Fates guy. uh,
Yeah.
I saw it in theaters. Just everything about it, like the music is incredible. The score that Williams puts together is incredible. The whole emotion behind the fight is incredible. And just having watched uh, Ray Park and Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor talk about their preparation for it, like it's it's a really incredible cinematic fight as well. Um,
Hmm. Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
probably my favorite in the franchise, other than the finale duel in Acolyte.
I'm right there with you. So I will back you on the Acolyte 100%. I love a Duel of the Fates. That like that 2-on-1 fight is just amazing, and it like keeps you on the edge of your seat even 20 years later. And just Darth Maul being so cool and all these little flips and
Yes.
he's just cool with a
And
double sided lightsaber too.
yes.
Just
Oh yeah. And
sauce.
and seeing that ignite in theater. I mean, come on, dude. Like
Right.
I was 10 or 11 at the time. Like I think I was 11, maybe
Hmm.
10. Yeah. Uh
Hmm.
yeah, saw it twice in theaters. It was nuts. Like you see him ignite that second blade and literally like I think I stood up. I'm pretty sure I stood up in the theater. I may not have because I was young.
Amazing. Did your
But
theater like go off?
oh yeah, for
Like,
sure. No, the seeing
oh
it and
wow.
seeing Phantom Menace in theaters was insane because like you got to think like we had not had shit for years, so
Hmm.
like people were ready to explode. And yeah,
Right. Right. After 1983, Return of the Jedi came out.
yeah,
And so like 16 years of nothing on screen. Can you imagine? We get something like every other year now, every couple of months.
yes, people need to take that less for granted for sure. That's what pisses me off when people are complaining about the content. Like, bro, just move on. Just like wait for the next
Right.
thing because like whatever whatever you didn't like about this one, the next one's going to be totally different, like totally different, and still, keeping it's just different interpretations of the themes of Star Wars. I haven't seen anything come out of Disney that doesn't hit on hit on the themes of Star Wars. But like it's all very different. It's different storytellers, different creators, so it's all very
Right.
different right now.
I think that's a really great point because it's so cool how you can it's a real filled out universe, a real filled out galaxy. And so you can have so many different aspects. You can have the bounty hunters, you can have the Jedi, you can have, your everyday people, you can have the politicians. There's so many aspects in this universe to be told.
That's the beauty of it, and that's the genius to me of what George Lucas created is not even necessarily his own work, which is beautiful, but like
Hmm.
the world building is what's made Star Wars an enduring franchise, because it's such an expansive universe. And he was real smart about it too, like the introduction of Boba Fett, like that's just a side character.
And
Like
Empire Strikes Back.
yeah, and like they
Hmm.
introduced what that like they sort of introduced the character in the Christmas special. There was that's really where he started, and
Oh,
then
really?
the holiday special, and then he appears in Empire. But like literally everything that everybody loved about Boba was like the conceptual character, like the potential for what the character could be. He's just like he's a bounty hunter. We know from how people talk to him and about him that he's got a rep. They
Mhm.
dropped the little no disintegrations line. People ate that up. And that's there was nothing really about Boba Fett. Like he's a nothing character, but people ate it up because like there's so much
Right.
potential. There's so much potential
'Cause he
there,
has
and
that
that's
cool helmet, and
yeah.
he's, like, holding his
You
own with
want to
Darth
know about it.
Vader.
You want to know more. you know
Yeah.
and so like that's like everything in Star Wars is like that. Like everything that George did. Like the Clone Wars line, like that's a throwaway line, bro. Like in
Right.
episode
In,
four, in
New
episode
Hope.
four, yeah, like
Right.
that's
At
totally
the
just like he just like dipped that in there and was like, we'll come back to this later, and like that
Right.
that's genius. Like
Right.
that's
You
genius.
guys fought in the Clone Wars, and then never hear about it ever again.
Right, but what?
Right.
The what?
Like, that seems very significant. You don't wanna expand on that? Nope, that's something for 20 years later. You'll get that. Just amazing. All right. I'm gonna move on to the next question. Next question is best Star Wars couple, not including the acolytes, but in all of Star Wars, movies, shows, games, video games, best Star Wars couple.
Well, I kind of want you to answer first because
Yeah, I know it's only a few of us today,
yeah,
which is fine. But I really wanted to have a Star Wars centric chat
yeah,
because I am a fan of the Acolyte because I'm a fan of Star Wars, not the
exactly,
other way around.
yeah,
So, I just wanted to go into this. So it's okay if it's just a few of us today, but everyone else who's listening after this is you're missing out.
for real.
But yeah, I'll go ahead. So best couple for me, the first couple that comes to mind is from the animation from Rebels. Has to be Hera and
Yes,
Kanan.
yes,
They're just so like their goals, they're respectful, they work together as a great team, they've been together for a long time, they're comfortable with each other, they're able to really like confront all these challenges like the freaking empire being like that's a girl's dream. I just want to fight the empire alongside the love of my life. That's what every girl wants. So, and of course, it didn't end well for them. Like a lot of Star Wars couples do not end well, which is sad. We need some more Star Wars couples that do end well.
maybe the
But
saddest moment in the entire franchise, honestly. Like that
yeah,
I remember watching that. I don't think I've ever been as shocked by a Star Wars film or show ever
mhm.
as that moment. I like literally I just sat there staring at the screen for like
It was so
minutes.
stunning. And I was spoiled on it because I didn't watch Rebels until like 2 years ago or something. Like I had watched Mandalorian, and then it was Mandalorian season 2, and Ahsoka showed up, and I'd seen stuff about Ahsoka, but I hadn't watched the animation, and she seemed really important. So I was like, well, I'll just watch the animation. I started getting into Clone Wars. I was not a fan of Clone Wars season 1, but from Clone Wars season 2, it gets really good, and then through the rest of the series is amazing. So I was like, okay, I have to watch Rebels after this. So I already knew
Or is a
that
real hit or
Kanan
miss.
died. Yeah, and I already knew like that they were together and everything. But even knowing it, like it doesn't really prepare you for how deep and horrible it is when he
Yeah,
actually dies.
it's a
Like,
powerful moment. It's a super powerful moment.
right. And you
And
like you try to yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say what I love about their romance because that was gonna be my answer too. They're my favorite,
Hmm.
even more than Oshamir. Like Oshamir's dug its way into my brain, but
Yes.
Hera and Kanan is my number one couple for Star Wars. And what I love about it is
Nice.
how understated they present the romance. Um,
Yes. I love that.
it's like you can see the intimacy between them, and it's not like sexual. It's not they they barely even kiss. Like it's but you can really feel
Hmm.
the intimacy between them. So I
Hmm.
think I think it's a really well presented romance as well.
Hmm. Yes, absolutely. I love that what you're talking about. Like, okay, I'm not married, but I know you are, right?
Yeah,
And so I know like in long-term relationships, it's not these big ups and downs and fights because that's not sustainable. Like people don't have big dramas every single day, is my understanding. You fall into like a comfortable, good rhythm where you like really love the person, but it's still fun and it's still happy, even if it's not like super dramatic and every day is like a huge up and a huge down. So,
Well, I mean, there is an ebb and a flow for sure, but yeah, I mean, there's
mhm,
always, you're going to have conflicts, but like that's that again, that's another beautiful thing about the way they present Harry and Kanan. Like they're always, it's never like, oh, okay, like I'm against you, like like
mhm.
they fight, they disagree, whatever, like, but you can tell they're together, they're for each other.
Yes, 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 that's fantastic. And if other listeners, you don't want to speak, but you would like to leave a comment as a tweet, you can leave a tweet to the thread or request to speak just really briefly if you just want to leave a quick comment.
I do have an
Oh,
honorable mention also before we
yeah,
skip to the next question. If you
yeah.
have not read Dark Disciple, uh,
I haven't read it yet.
oh my God, Asajj,
Is that the one with Asajj?
yeah,
Yeah.
Asajj and Quinlan, yeah, it's centered on their story. That is another beautiful, really beautiful romance.
So that is a really good book.
Yes, it's a very good book, and it's got kind of it's not really enemies to lovers. It's got kind of
Hmm.
that element because they're coming from opposite sides. Asajj is coming from the dark, and Quinlan's leaving the Jedi Order. But uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily enemies to lovers, but it does kind of have that kind of element to it. But it's a really well written book, and I definitely enjoy that romance as well because it's just fun. It's
Mm-hmm.
two really
I
cool
know
characters.
I know that's awesome to hear. I know there was some controversy because she came back in Bad Batch. And apparently she dies in Dark Disciple.
Yeah. Again, this is the so we're getting into a Star Wars philosophy conversation here, but
Mm,
the Disney sale was supposed to make everything streamlined. Like
mhm,
there wasn't going to be any continuity issues anymore. But it seems very much like we've seen a couple of instances now where they follow George Lucas's old rules, which are until it's on screen, it's not really canon. You know what I mean? They've
mhm,
retconned some stuff about Ahsoka's novel, and yeah, the Bad Batch thing. Theoretically,
mm,
we're not entirely sure where it falls in the timeline, but theoretically, that retcons some things about Dark Disciple as well. Yeah, um,
good points.
so I think that Lucasfilm appears to be following that same philosophy where like it's not necessarily really canon until you see it on screen. And I don't.
Mhm, mhm.
I hope they don't like really change too much stuff, because then it's gonna start. It's just gonna start falling apart for sure. Because that's the thing that people have always complained about. That's
Right. Yeah. It's like they have a whole bunch of good background information. And so it's okay to like change a few things to like fit into what they're creating now. But if you go too outside of what's already been created, it's gonna lose more people.
yeah, yeah. And
Definitely agree.
George's thing was he didn't want to be confined to somebody else's story. He wanted to be able to tell the stories he wanted to tell the way he wanted to be told,
Right.
wanted to tell them.
Right.
And so I can see creators feeling the same way, but like then don't don't release it as Star Wars canon. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
because that was the whole thing. That was the whole problem we ended up with in the first place, and that's why a lot of people are angry with Disney. And
Mm.
it was one of the things that a lot of people didn't like about the prequels and Clone Wars was because there wasn't a ton of EU material on pre original
Oh.
original trilogy era, but there was some. There was a little. And
Hmm.
and George definitely took it and was like, "Yeah, no, we're not
Oh,
doing
that's
that."
That actually makes a lot more sense. I loved the movies when I was growing up, but I never got into like the EU at all because I was confused back then. I was a kid, and it was the same with Marvel. Marvel would be like X-Men, this one, X-Men, that one. It's like I cannot follow all of these books. so
It's a
so
lot.
it was the same with the EU. It's like I never we didn't have the internet like it is today. I didn't know like where to dive in to like get into it, so I just never did. But it makes sense if you had all this stuff and George Lucas kind of threw it out, which is his right.
That's
That
what.
people would say like,
Yeah, I mean, that was always what he said. Like I want to, I want to, if I
mm-hmm,
want to tell a story a certain way, I'm going to do that. Like, and
mm-hmm,
so like the argument, the whole, there's the EU purists, who hate Disney because it's not not holding to George's vision or whatever. George's vision was not the EU, and he's
mm-hmm.
gone on record as saying it's not. Like his whole he didn't like the Mara Jade storyline. He hated that Luke ended
Oh,
up getting married. He's on record as saying that. Like, and
oh, interesting.
there's
He didn't
several
want
of
Luke to
the
get married
yeah, and there's several
to
of the
her.
EU storylines that he doesn't that he's on record as saying he doesn't like. And he wouldn't included that way in his own work.
Oh, that's interesting.
So
I'll have to look into that some more. Okay, we're gonna go to the next question, which is I almost feel like this should have a caveat, but the next question is best villain outside of the Acolyte. So the caveat I want to say is don't include Darth Vader because he's kind of clearly the
yeah,
best villain.
he's the most iconic villain ever in history
Right.
for
He's
sure.
the in like American culture.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
like, how do you not choose him?
Yeah, that's an easy
Yeah,
answer.
so
Um,
so yeah, outside of not Darth Vader, outside of the Acolyte, in any other Star Wars property, the original sequel, whatever games, best villain.
uh, Man, I could give a few answers to this.
Yeah, me too.
I really liked Balin, who came out in Ahsoka last year.
Yeah, yeah, he was dope.
Yeah,
He was super dope.
super cool take on a fallen Jedi, who's not
Hmm.
a Sith. And also I've been a huge Ray Stevenson fan for a long time. I was super sad he passed, and he's
Right, that was so
not
awful.
going to get to finish the story. I hope they choose somebody who can somewhat fill his shoes because he was an incredible actor, just
He was
absolutely
perfect.
incredible. Yeah. But Balin, I absolutely loved Balin. I'm a Thrawn fan from the
Mm,
novels, and then I loved seeing him
okay.
again in Rebels. Um,
Hmm.
and then
Did you think, I know that there's controversy between the books and
yeah,
Rebels. Did you think that
it's different.
what is different?
It's different. I mean, they're kind of two different characters to me. Um,
Hmm.
which like Legends is not the continuity anymore, so it makes sense. They can take him a different direction, and that's what they did.
Hmm.
They took him a different direction. But it's still to me it's not like I see a lot of people saying he's like a nerfed version of the Thrawn in the novels. He's
Oh,
not as
interesting.
intelligent, not as strategic, and I can see that. But like the novels are more mature, and Rebels is a kids show. So I mean, like
Hmm. So he can't go full out.
Yeah, I mean, like,
And
what are we really complaining about here? Like,
who's your other guy or person after Thrawn and Balin?
I like Dooku. Dooku's a cool,
Mm,
just I think he's the best prequel era villain. I've always really liked Darth Maul, but I didn't like the way they took his story
hmm.
in Clone Wars and Rebels. But
I mean, Christopher Lee is very iconic.
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely,
It doesn't get much more iconic than him. And like he was like 90 or something years old and like doing metal music.
yeah. Well, and
He was so cool.
he's former military, and he's actually sort like he had to
Mhm.
the Gillard had to like tell him to unlearn some of his sword training because he's actually like formally
Yes.
sword trained, and he was like, no, we're not, this is lightsabers, this isn't, you're not trying to fence kill me here, like.
Right. You're not trying to really kill
Yeah,
me, just fake kill me.
yeah,
That's awesome. I think my favorite villain has to be Asajj Ventress.
nice.
we were just talking about. But as soon as she shows up in the animated with the 2D Clone Wars with that like that
Yes.
snaky voice, yeah, it's Master.
Oh man.
And that fight she has with Anakin at the end of that series is so cool.
Yes.
She falls off the cliff and then she comes back in the because that one isn't fully canon. She comes back in the 3D Clone Wars and she kicks ass
Yeah.
so much.
She's a great
I just
character.
love her.
And that
Hmm.
series, just as a note, is incredible too. Tartakovsky's series is dope. If
Yeah,
anybody's listening who hasn't seen that, go check it out, please. It's so dope.
the 2D
So
one.
much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it takes the first half, especially, takes some like getting used to, especially in this like cell phone era. I found when I try to rewatch it, I find myself getting very antsy and like I'm gonna check my phone, but just like focus,
Yeah.
like
No,
stay focused on the screen,
it's
and
very
it pays off.
it's very much.
Yeah,
If you ever saw Samurai Jack, it's very much in the same uh,
definitely.
sort of aesthetic there. And yeah, it's drawn. It's a cartoon, so you don't expect it to be so drawn out and long winded, but it is kind of, like you're saying, like
Hmm.
it is. It's I feel like it's more mature again. Like it's still a kids show. There's nothing like super violent or sexual or graphic or anything. But
Hmm.
but I do feel
And
like
I guess I'll throw in one other villain, which is not technically like a villain, but just freaking playing Star Wars Fallen Order. You go to freaking Kashyyyk, which is the Wookiee homeworld. It is full of horrible things all over the planet, like plants that chase you. It's like, why is this plant chasing me? Like spiders that jump on you out of nowhere. So just the whole planet, not even like one thing there, just like all of Kashyyyk, because I hate that planet so much. In Fallen Order, it's so it's so aggressive. I hate those vines that'll like chase after you, like eat you from behind. It's like I am just trying to jump from thing to thing. Why are you coming after me? This is not right.
yeah, the games have some really great. I like Malleus too from the Knights of the Old Republic games. Uh, he's a
Mm,
really sick villain. Uh,
awesome. I still need to play those, the Knights of the Old Republic games.
yeah, super fun. And while we're talking about Tartakovsky, a shout out to his
Mhm.
version of Grievous, because his version of Grievous is way sicker and scarier
Yes.
than than what we ended up getting in Clone Wars and the movies.
Yeah.
Like that version of
Yeah. Poor
Grievous is dope,
Grievous.
dude. Like that's scary.
Right. He like murders that whole room of
Yeah,
Jedi.
bro.
And it's like, oh, okay, that's how he got all those lightsabers. He has a moment or two in Clone Wars. I think he kills like that one guy's Padawan, which was pretty sad.
Nadar.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's a good episode
But
actually.
yeah,
That's a pretty fun episode.
it was a great episode. But for the most part, he's getting outwitted by freaking little Ahsoka.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
Well, and then he get
But it's a kid's show.
the way he ends up getting beat by Obi-Wan in the movie. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm on record. I ruffled some feathers last week. I'm on record saying I'm not a huge fan of the combat in Revenge of the Sith. I
Right, you didn't like Revenge of the Sith, which is so like but I get it. I understand, but I do not endorse that one. I cannot.
Yeah, I know I'm on an island with that one pretty much, but I feel like they were trying to do too much, trying to make it too
Well, I
big.
do agree with you there. Actually, I posted on someone's Twitter post the other day that was actually like six different storylines packed into one movie, and it could have been
Yeah,
like way spread out.
yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you on that. But I still liked it.
I mean, I still enjoyed it. It's still Star Wars. I still
Mhm.
love it, but it's just it's
Good.
definitely it's low on my totem pole in terms of the movies and in terms of Star Wars content in general. It's low on my totem pole.
Understandable. Alrighty, let's move on to. Well, we kind of already covered this one, but I'll just do it again. Outside of the Acolytes, so any other Star Wars, what is the saddest Star Wars moment?
Well,
The saddest moment.
yeah, we did definitely talk about this one, Kanan, for sure.
Right.
And I mean,
Right.
I don't see how anybody could say there's another moment that's
I have
anywhere
a
close.
couple in mind, but that one's really devastating
Yeah.
for sure.
The only one I could think of that
Um,
comes close is Trilla. When Vader kills
mm,
Trilla in what is it, Survivor? Uh,
I think yeah, well, I never finished Falling Order because it was too hard. But doesn't he kill her
it,
in at the end of that
it might
game?
be
Like
Fallen
he
Order. It
shows
might be
up.
Fallen Order. Yeah, I can't remember.
Hmm. Yeah, like her storyline is super tragic.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And she's an awesome villain on top of that. Who beat me like 6 times in a row? She was really hard to beat. um, I think another really sad Star Wars moment. Well, okay, so Revenge of the Sith, which you don't like, which is understandable. But I like the movie, but I cannot watch it very often because it's too sad for me. And I can't like Grave of the Fireflies. I can't watch like really sad stuff over and over and over. It's just like too much. But especially at the end when Anakin is falling to the dark side, that entire sequence, like from when he first throws Mace Windu out the window to killing all the Jedi in the temple, the younglings, that's fine. He can kill the younglings, whatever.
damn,
But but
fuck them kids.
but but then he goes to Mustafar, and Padme confronts him, and he's like freaking choking Padme.
Yeah,
It's like that's the whole reason that you're doing any of this is to save Padme. Like, why are you trying to kill her?
yeah, and that's a super sad moment for sure. But that again, that's one of the things, that I don't like that for sure. Like I didn't
You don't
I didn't like that
like you didn't.
decision. Like everything, if you could keep
Hmm.
everything the same and
Hmm.
and not have him choke her, because like you said, that was the whole point. And I get he's fallen to the dark side and
Hmm.
everything. Like, but I didn't appreciate the decision personally.
Hmm. Okay, okay, I can co-sign that actually because that's part of the reason that it's too sad for me to rewatch. So maybe there's another version where he falls to the dark side, but he doesn't take it out on the woman that he loves the most in the world, but just does all that other
Yeah.
stuff.
No,
And
it should
then,
have been his actions,
hmm.
causing what happened, not him actually attacking Padme. Like that doesn't make sense to me. Like the
Hmm.
tragedy should have been his actions causing something tragic to befall her.
Hmm.
Like maybe
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but like maybe like the ship explodes because he's fighting Obi-Wan, or he
Oh yeah,
pulls something down and it falls on her. Whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of ways they could have gone with
yeah,
it without him
yeah,
attacking literally his entire motivation. What they've set up for 2 movies now is really 3 movies as his entire motivation for everything. You know.
right, exactly. Like she's the entire reason. Why are you attacking her? Another sad moment. There's a bunch. Star Wars is very sad. Another sad moment is in Clone Wars when 99 dies. That was really, really sad. I
Oh
don't know if
yeah,
you guys all
that's
remember
a good
that.
one.
There was the 99 clone, and he wasn't able to become a full soldier, and so he would clean up after the other soldiers. And then the whole base on Camino gets attacked, and like everyone's trying to defend and everything. And then 99's trying to protect his brothers that he just like helped, and he gets freaking shot in the back, and it's like not 99. He didn't deserve that.
Yeah,
He was so
that is a
great.
that's a good episode too. And
Hmm.
there's the little Easter egg of Plan 99 with the Bad Batch. Their Plan 99 is like the end all plan.
Yes, right,
Like
right. The
the
freaking tech.
sacrifice. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like their homage to him. It's like the Plan 99 is the sacrifice yourself plan.
Oh, so sad. Okay, I have a few more. Um, Also, oh wait, did I just forget them? I probably just forgot them as soon as I said that. um, one, okay, one that's really random is not what I was just thinking about. But one that comes to mind is okay, there's this moment in Return of the Jedi when one of the Ewoks dies, and the other
Yes,
Ewok is like,
I
"No,
know
my friend."
exactly what you're talking about. Yes,
Yeah, you know exactly, exactly, because
I
it was sad.
remember that.
Yes, because that moment was really sad. It was like, why are you doing the Ewoks like that? I am, I am too young for all this heartbreak. This
Yeah.
is really, this is
Well,
really
yeah,
depressing.
I mean that's like those comments from Villeneuve just came out where he was like, you know, that movie was for kids. Like, what are you talking about, bro? George
Right.
put in a George put in a whole scene where there's an Ewok
No,
crying over his dead fallen friend, bro. Like, are you kidding me? Like the
this
teddy
is
bear got shot to death, and then his
right.
friend went over to try to wake him up and couldn't.
I
Like, are you
know.
kidding me?
Oh
That's
my
not for
God.
kids, bro.
This
What are you talking about?
it's so sad. Just because they're cute and adorable doesn't mean that they're not genuinely having grief. Like that was a genuine moment
Yeah, for
of
sure.
horribleness. It's really
And
sad.
that's that the Ewoks and the Gungans both got a lot of hate. You know, uh,
Hmm.
some people said they shouldn't have been able to defeat their opponents. Some people said they were like, I don't know,
Right.
appropriative or racially
Hmm.
stereotyping or something like that. But
Well, I mean, the Gungans were, but
y-
there was a
yeah,
lot of problematic stuff in the prequel trilogy.
yeah, there was some problematic stuff for sure. But for me, I just try, it's easy for me because I'm a white dude. But I just try to focus on what George was saying, which is like
Right.
the uh, I guess indigenous resistance.
Exactly.
Like
It was
like
awesome.
anti-colonial colonialism and stuff. So
It
that's
was a
what I try
whole
to focus on with those things. I definitely
right.
acknowledge the problematicness of the Gungans. I still love them. But yeah,
Uh, um, yeah. I mean, that's all. There was this whole thing, right, with
you know.
the Vietnam War, and how no one expected the Vietnamese with like very low amounts of like, they didn't have
Yeah,
like missiles and stuff like the Americans had. No one
yes,
expected them to fight back, and they beat the United States. So
yeah,
he said like he was inspired by all of that.
yeah.
So I think it's
And,
awesome.
and that's a consistent theme in the movies and the shows and everything. So I
Hmm.
mean, that's that like when people complain about the Ewoks or the Gungans or any of the like aliens fighting back, like you don't get it.
Right,
That's one of those you don't get it situations right there. And like
right.
I would never fan shame somebody, but that's literally the point of what he's trying to say. Like, should the teddy
The
bears
whole
be able
point.
to defeat the stormtroopers? No, but but it like that's what happens when people come
Sometimes
together.
it happens.
Yeah,
So
that's what happens when people are inspired to come together like that. So
definitely. There's always hope. There's always hope. Hey, Liana, welcome, welcome. So we're gonna move on to the next question shortly, but since you just came on, if you're still there, now it says connecting, so she might have dipped out. So we might like wait until she comes back. Are you still there? Okay, it says connecting. So she's having technical issues. We're going to move on to the next question anyway, and I'll ask her when she comes back. So next question, the best planet or setting in all of Star Wars outside of the Acolyte, unless it was also used in the Acolyte, is fine.
you're killing me with the outside the acolyte because man,
I
it has
know.
so many good new worlds, bro. So many good new worlds.
I know. It's so perfect. The series is so perfect. It's just a great series.
Um, my favorite planet has always been Yavin 4. I love Yavin 4. The
Oh,
locale,
nice.
the topography, everything. It's beautiful. When you see them flying in, I'm like, oh my god, I'm down. Move me in, sign me up.
Nice.
Um, Endor's real cool.
Hmm.
And then I just finished Resistance pretty recently, and there's an ocean planet on there called Castellon that's pretty cool. Um,
Nice.
which is interesting for me to like that because I'm terrified of the ocean. I have an irrational fear of the ocean.
Oh no.
So like a whole planet of
Is
oceans
that from
next.
experience or is that from just like you don't know what's out there?
Yeah, I think yeah, I think it's the mystery of it.
Uh-huh.
uh,
Uh-huh.
you know,
Because it is kind of terrifying. I had one time I went on a catamaran for a trip, and everyone was like, "Oh, we're gonna snorkel in the ocean." I've never been snorkeling before, and I love the ocean, by the beach, by the beach. But but we went in the middle of the
close to
ocean,
shore.
and yeah, I had never been snorkeling before, and they ran out of flippers. And so they told me to wait until someone comes back so I could get some flippers. And I was like, oh no, I'll be fine. I'll just jump in. How bad can it be? So I jumped in without the flippers. It couldn't do crap. I could barely, like, the ocean is strong. It was like pulling me all sorts of directions. I was like, oh no, I do not like this. So I swam back to the boat as quick as possible. It took a while because the currents were so strong. But I just, like, I was right there. So I was just like, no, let me just get back to the boat because this sucks. I don't like this. So I get it. I get it
Yeah, no, I'm not
100%.
about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Castilon was real cool. It's an interesting planet to me.
hmm I think some of my favorites are, I love Coruscant. Every time Coruscant shows up, I'm just obsessed. When it shows up in Mandalorian season 3 was really great when they had the whole spy thing on Coruscant and everything. It's like, oh, this is great. I love
Yeah.
this. I love seeing all the different parts of Coruscant so
Well, and
much.
we've never really seen the lower levels like that either. That was really cool.
Right. Yes, yes. I love the lower levels. I love just exploring the city. Same in Clone Wars season 7 when Ahsoka was exploring the lower levels because she wasn't a Jedi anymore.
Yeah,
That was so
her and
awesome.
Asajj's storyline. That's a really cool little
Mm-hmm.
storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that whole thing was just awesome. Um, you talked about the ocean. That reminded me of that ocean planet in was it Mandalorian season 1? The one with the frog lady.
Yeah, that was season one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah, the frog lady, and then she gets to her planet and it has all the I forget their names. I'm sorry, geeks, but I forget their names. It had the octopus guys and the squid guys. They're all just walking around.
You mean the
I don't know
Corin?
what they're called. Say it again.
The Corin.
Yeah, thank you. The cord. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. They're all walking around. I think that was just really cool. I would live in a world that had like octopus guys walking around on the surface. That would be pretty dope, actually. And aside from those two, I think also Naboo is just beautiful.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Naboo.
hmm I would absolutely just live there. I wouldn't live on Coruscant because I like nature and it's just one giant city. I just like to see it on screen. And I would live on the ocean planet because I want to see the octopus guys. But Naboo is just a no-brainer. It's like, oh yeah, let's go there right now. You got giant
Yeah.
monsters in the ocean. That's pretty cool. You got beautiful architecture on the land. That's really awesome.
Well,
Yeah,
you actually can go to Naboo, kind of, because
right,
it's a spot in Italy, and it's high on my list of places to
right.
go.
We should do like a Star Wars group trip to, to Italy,
Don't
further down the line. Not
my
like this year,
don't tempt my
but
wife. She wants to go super bad, and she can use that as an excuse to get me to go. She will be all about it.
yes, yes, we need to do like just a massive group trip
Yeah,
to Italy.
Italy for the Naboo spot, and then Madeira in Spain
hmm
for the Acolyte spot.
Yes, yes, the same. Is that also in Italy?
No, it's in Spain. Yeah,
Okay, but close by.
it's pretty close.
Yeah, yeah, that would be amazing. I would love to do that trip, actually. Madeira and Naboo.
Yeah.
And
That's Baldemnik is super interesting to me, just like
mhm,
conceptually as a planet. I know we're staying away from the Acolyte, but that one,
mhm.
that one was super interesting. And yeah, I want to go visit that spot real bad. I've seen a bunch of people post online of them going to visit, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm
Oh,
jealous.
geez. Yeah, that is awesome. I'm super jealous too. I also want to. go to that planet. I mean, real life place, because it's not a planet. Okay, moving on, because I think we said all we can about that one. Um, the most valuable player of Star Wars. So this could be any of like Luke, Mace Windu, Yoda, Din Djarin, etc. Like the top person, the MVP, outside of the Acolyte. Acolyte, we're not talking about Acolyte for this conversation. It's just outside of the Acolyte, the most valuable player in Star Wars. Who you got?
My MVP is definitely Ahsoka. I don't see
Oh, nice.
I don't see how anybody touches her. I know Luke's super powerful and does a whole lot for the story, and that's great, but I don't see how anybody touches Ahsoka. Uh,
Ahsoka is a beast. She
and
is a beast.
yeah, I mean, to me, she's the pure. Yeah, I know she walks away from the Order, but to me, she's the purest Jedi ever
Mm-hmm.
because, like, she's the one
Mm-hmm.
who stands on business when it comes down to it. You know what I mean? Like, she walks away from the Order because they're not following their own shit. You know what I mean? So, like, that's
Totally agree.
to me that she's the MVP for sure. And I like that they're setting her up, kind of as like a bigger figure in the story with her
Yes.
show here.
Me
You know.
too. I love that. I know there's a lot of criticism of like there's a lot of criticism of Filoni for being like super focused, but I'm one of those people that really likes the story he's creating. I just don't want him to only focus on that. Like we can still have the acolyte while you're doing all this other stuff. But I like his whole universe like a lot. I like Din Djarin and Ahsoka and like all these guys. So I'm right there with you. Ahsoka is like a total beast, trained by Anakin Skywalker, can put Thrawn on edge when he finds out that she's trained by Anakin Skywalker. She's an amazing pilot. She's an amazing fighter. She like helps people who need her help. She tries to stay out of the fight, and then she gets pulled back into it by the senator, and then she goes on to lead in Rebels. Like all of her in Rebels, which is amazing. She's probably my favorite character in Rebels for sure.
Yeah, I mean her whole story is crazy, and you got to remember too, like in Clone Wars, we see her being one of the best duelists in the show, and she's
Mm-hmm.
like what, like 13 or something, like 15 or something. I don't know, like young, super young in Clone Wars.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I mean, she's a beast. And I know,
Yes.
I know there's some people who have some problems with the writing of the character and Filoni's focus on her too, and
Mm-hmm.
those are valid complaints for sure. But for me,
Mm-hmm.
she's one of my favorite characters in the franchise, if not my favorite. And
Definitely.
and yeah, to me, like I don't see how, like, if you put her up against anybody in the franchise and said, like,
Mm-hmm.
like the fate of the franchise is on your shoulders against this person, like I'm betting on her. I don't care who it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Vader, Ray, Chimere, Sidious. I don't care who it is. I'm betting on her every time.
That is another gutsy claim, I have to admit. Do you think that she could take down Sidious?
I do. I do. I
Oh my
think
goodness.
I think there's a reason that we never see them cross paths in any of the media, and it's because Filoni thinks the same thing.
Oh, interesting. I mean, I would be down to see that fight for sure. I think Sidious would crush her like really quickly. I
I
love
mean,
her,
that's the
but
beautiful thing about it. We've never seen it. We don't know. We can debate it all day.
yes, yes, absolutely. But that's cool. She's a fantastic character and she deserves the best of everything. And I hope season 2 of Ahsoka is really awesome. Season 1 of Ahsoka, I did have a few problems, actually the same problems that the trolls all say the Acolyte has, which it doesn't have those problems. Like people, people will say the Acolyte has like bad pacing and it has bad writing, which it doesn't on either of those counts remotely, and I will fight over that like all day. But for me, Ahsoka had those problems. Like the writing was needed some work. It was a little bit empty. So I really hope that Filoni just posted like he's the only one writing the script right now. It's like, please get some other people in the room with you, because that one person writing a script never ends well. Like, get some other people, beef up the dialogue a little bit, and the pacing also in Ahsoka, which is just so I can't. I'm such a geek. Like, usually I rewatch things over and over and over and over. And Ahsoka is one of the first series I just didn't. I finished it and I was like, I do not want to watch that again. I'm glad I watched it. It was good. It was enjoyable, but it was so slow. The pacing, especially those first few episodes. So they really need to tighten that up, please, in season two. For me, just for me specifically, and for everyone else that feels the same way. So I'm not the only one that feels that way. Um, my MVP, aside from Ahsoka,
I was gonna say, who you
because
got?
yeah, uh, I know it's unpopular, I guess these days, but I have to say Luke Skywalker. he's, he's my MVP for sure. I don't know where
That's
all the Luke hate comes from. Like, where
valid
did this come from? Why do people suddenly hate Luke? That's
because of episode 8. That's
really,
yeah. That's episode 8 is where it turned for sure.
damn
Because
you, Rian Johnson.
yeah, because a lot of people thought that it was not true. You know, a lot of people wanted to see what we saw in the EU of Luke. You know,
Hmm.
him becoming the leader of the new Jedi Order and becoming a big, huge thing and the the greatest hero in the galaxy, basically. You know, so and that's I think
Hmm.
a lot of people would have your answer that Luke is the MVP and should be the MVP. Uh,
Hmm.
and it, they feel like episode 8 spits on that, and I can understand why, but I appreciated what Rian Johnson had to say about what happened and why
Mm.
Luke was gone and why the First Order was allowed to rise and the whole 9 yards.
Hmm.
They had to go somewhere
Hmm.
with the story. And the only
Definitely.
the only complaint I have about the sequels is I wish they had worked together and collaborated and had a through plan more than they did. Um,
Oh my God. Yes.
um,
Yes, please, 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 please.
but as a standalone movie, I enjoyed episode 8, and I didn't have a problem with what they said about Luke, but I know a lot of people did, and I think that
Mm.
that one movie alone has turned a lot of people's perception of Luke.
Mm. That's so sad to me. I'm really sad about that. Okay, I'm not gonna bring down my own mood. Got to get my mood back up. But I'm like I'm really depressed. Like, why do people? He's the best. And I'm not even a little. I'm not even like white or male, and I'm just like Luke's awesome.
Yeah.
But I grew up with him, and I always admired him, especially Return the Jedi. And when he gets free on the ship, and he's about to be sacrificed, Jabba the Hutt,
Oh yeah.
and he gets the lightsaber and like leaps, like frees, like fights everybody. Like, oh my god, this is the greatest moment in the history of cinema. When I was a kid,
Yeah.
it was just so good. So
And
I just
the throne room scene at the end of Return of the Jedi is incredible.
yes.
And just the whole framing of it, him losing himself for a minute and then catching himself, like it's beautiful. And then yeah, even more so, I think the conversation between him and Vader on the little walkway after he turns himself
Hmm.
in, I think that's a really underrated
That
scene
was
right
great.
there. That's a great scene between him and
That was
Vader.
really great. Speaking of that infight, what do you think was was Luke going through when that happened? Do you think that he turned to the dark side, or was he in control, or like was he able to beat Vader if he tried, but he just couldn't?
Well, I mean, that's so like Sidious wants him to turn and beat Vader.
Right.
Sidious wants to because the whole thing is you're constantly supplanting the more powerful person. That's the whole Sith thing. You're constantly supplanting the next person with the more powerful person. And Sidious
Hmm.
wants to be the one doing that with his apprentices, as opposed to having because the tradition is you take out your master, but Sidious wants his new apprentice to take out his old apprentice always. So
Mm-hmm.
Sidious believes that Luke can turn and beat Vader, and I think we see that in the throne room scene for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That once he loses, because I think he does lose control for that second. When he's goes
Mm.
after Vader right before he throws his lightsaber. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely him losing control of his emotion and
Mm-hmm.
showing what that could be. Just like a little hint of like he could be sick as fuck, bro. Like
Right.
he could be super powerful because this is Vader still. Like this is still
Sure.
Vader was handling him kind of before that, and this is still the most powerful feared person in the entire galaxy. So like
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden he just comes out and like puts him on his ass in like 10 seconds. Like no, that's crazy. So yes, I think that
Mm.
if Luke turned to the dark side, it's game over for and that's what Sidious thinks too, is it's game over for the galaxy at that point. uh,
That's crazy. Yeah. No, yeah, I can see that actually. I think when I watched it, I was always like, I I felt like Luke was tempted, and I think there's a similar moment in Ahsoka when she's on the bridge fighting against Anakin in the World Between Worlds, and she ends up like getting him with the lightsaber, and then like the her eyes are kind of like flashing a little bit, and she's like right there in her face, but then she says like, "No, I'm not gonna do this." I feel like, and I don't think she crossed over per se, but I feel like it's like it was right there for her to touch, but she didn't dive into it, if that makes sense.
it,
And
yes.
I feel like Luke, the same sort of thing kind of happened where he could touch it, but he didn't dive into it,
Yeah.
and he didn't want to really experience that.
Yeah.
So,
No, and that's I think that moment was intentionally sort of rhyming, like George's old quote, it's like poetry, it rhymes. I think that moment
mhm,
was intentionally rhyming with the Return of the Jedi moment, because it's the same thing. She
mhm,
is tempted to turn uh,
mhm.
by the same person, even,
Right.
and then does the same thing. Turns and throws her saber down. And says no. Like I don't have to
Yeah,
fight.
I like
I
that.
don't have to fight you. Uh,
I
I
like
don't have to
that.
kill you. So it's the same. It's the same kind of thing, and that's the the Jedi way, I guess. I don't know, but that's definitely what the end result is in Return of the Jedi. Is Luke decides like I don't have to kill you.
Mhm,
Like I'm not here. That's not the point. That's the dark side.
mhm,
Like
mhm. Yeah, I don't think, yeah, exactly. I don't think he would ever have turned, and I think he would have preferred to have died than to have turned to the
yes,
dark side.
and he was prepared
But
to. That's Sidious is lighting
mhm,
him up. Palpatine's lighting him up, and he's like, "Father, please," but
mhm.
he's not. He's not.
Right,
He's dying, and he's letting himself die.
right. And then Vader saves him.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's awesome. Luke is awesome. Um, when he showed up at the end of Mandalorian season 2, like, and the internet just blew up after that. Just so deserved. I need more Luke Skywalker in everything, like literally, except for the Acolyte, 'cause 100 years before. But everything else, please, just like more Luke Skywalker,
Yeah,
please.
I loved that scene. I that was another scene I freaked out about. Me and my son and my wife were watching it and
Hmm.
freaked out about it. And
Yes.
I loved that Filoni uh, rhymed again. I'll say we'll
Hmm.
use that word again. I love that he rhymed with the Rogue One hallway scene with Vader. It was
Yeah.
beautifully done. Just absolutely.
Instead of the red lightsaber, you have the
Yeah.
green lightsaber.
Yes, man, and it's like peak
Hmm.
cinema for me, bro. Like when the lightsaber
Yes.
ignites and he starts going through the hall, and it's really silly, because Vader throws one of the rebels up onto the ceiling and slashes
Hmm.
him. Luke does the same thing to one of the droids
Oh
in
wow.
the ship.
Yeah,
Like
I didn't
so.
notice that before.
There's
Yeah.
there's a lot. It mirrors it a lot, and I think it's really. I think some people think it's too on the nose. For me, it was so perfect. It was like, yes,
Oh no.
absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely, definitely, definitely. Not too on the nose at all. Like some things, when you have kind of a mirror image, it's like even better.
Yeah.
So Definitely, definitely. Okay. Oh, hi, Liana, you're back.
Hi, sorry, I'm at work and like literally right when I joined the space, someone walked in and I was like, shit, and I turned off my phone.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. You
So
gotta keep it on the,
if I
yeah.
vanish abruptly again, it's because someone walked in.
No worries. You're like, you're doing retail? What are you doing?
I work retail. I'm a manager, so I'm like just here.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
What are we talking about?
yeah, just some Star Wars moments. I'll go back
I,
to
w-
a
I
couple
was
if you
gonna
want
say go
to.
back and let her answer some of the questions because I'm curious.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah. So Liana, outside of the Acolyte, anything else, any other Star Wars, like movie, show, game, animation, whatever, you can pick two of these questions. We have best fights, best couple, best villain, saddest moment, and your MVP of all of Star Wars. So two of those questions, what are your answers?
Okay. I'm pulling up the list. Wait, there's no
Okay,
list.
nice.
Wait, never mind. That's the wrong tweet. Okay, so obviously my top couple that's not from the Acolyte is Raylo because I've
All
always
right.
been a massive Raylo. Um, and I'm like a big sequel fan because the sequels are like my generation, like they're my movies. They're how I was introduced to Star Wars.
Mm.
So I'm a big fan of the sequels. The Last Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie, which I know controversial, but it's always been
We
my
were literally
favorite.
just talking
Yeah,
about
we were
that.
just
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah,
how it's overhated, bro. It's a really good movie.
no, it's so overhated.
Hmm.
I love it. And it's like maybe I'm a little biased towards it because it was actually the first Star Wars movie I ever saw. And
Hmm.
it's what got me into Star Wars, but like it's the one I rewatch the most. Like it's my favorite. And
Amazing.
as the other question I'm going to answer is best fight, the throne room fight in The Last Jedi.
Mm.
I
That
love
was
that
pretty
fight
classic.
so much.
That was an instant classic.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Super cinematic. Everything's red. You have like all these guards and like things falling apart. It's just, and the Rey and Kylo Ren both switching places and kind of fighting in tandem together.
I know, and the thigh grab is also great.
Hmm.
I don't know. I love that fight scene. I think it's great. And I know a lot of people were pissed off because in The Last Jedi there's technically not like a lightsaber fight because the
Hmm.
Praetorians aren't using
Yeah,
lightsabers, they're using like other weapons. And I'm like, okay,
it
I
was
feel like that
still
really shouldn't matter because it was still so
it was
cool.
still so badass. Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
mention any of the sequel fights in my answer, but I do love the sequel trilogy's fights. I think they're really well done.
Nice.
I think they're getting back to, like what I love about the original trilogy fights is that the sabers are difficult to use, and that it feels like that in the sequel trilogy. It feels like Rey and Kylo are really like exerting effort, whereas in the prequels, I get that it's like the Jedi at the height of their power and everything, but like it feels like they're just like twirling batons around, like
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm.
like especially in the throne room scene, and then the scene at the beginning of Rise of Skywalker, when Kylo and Rey are fighting, it looks like they're really like exerting effort with their swings and their techniques. So I love the sequel
Hmm.
trilogy's fights. I think they're some of the
That
best.
actually that actually makes so much sense because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but I think Kylo's lightsaber is hard to wield. Like they've said it is because his crystal is cracked.
Yeah, his
So
crystal's
it's
cracked.
so
Hmm.
That's why it
unstable.
has
Yeah.
the vents on the side
Yeah, that's why it has the cross guard. So I think
Oh,
it actually
interesting.
is hard for him to use.
for
Oh,
sure.
wow.
And you see it in Star Killer Base. You see them having to put real effort into the fight. And same thing in
Mm.
Rise of the Skywalker. You see a lot of effort in their swings and how they're holding the sabers and everything. It's not just like, oh, let me just like flip this around and you know slice you into a bazillion pieces like I'm Dyson lettuce. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's like I'm swinging like an axe or a broadsword or something.
Yeah, it shows
Mm.
that it's like a different time, like in Star Wars,
Yeah,
like in the galaxy.
exactly.
Mm. Mm. Interesting. Some cool perspectives there. Definitely can see that. All right, cool. Well, thanks for those answers. Going to move on to the next question,
Cool.
which is outside of the Acolyte, outside of the Acolyte, so don't answer the Acolyte. What is the favorite series? It can be anything: book, movie, show, game in Star
Hmm.
Wars.
I'm gonna have
Probably for me, Clone Wars.
Yes, nice.
So
I,
I love
I,
Clone
I
Wars.
co-sign that answer. That's a good answer.
I'm gonna have to go
Definitely.
Rebels. I do like Clone Wars, but it's too inconsistent for me. I think Rebels is my favorite outside of the Acolyte.
I think Rebels is my choice too, just because the found family dynamic always gets me in anything. And so I love having that little like family on the Ghost like so much. But Clone Wars is also clearly an amazing series that's super good. So
I love Rebels has a scene that's one of my favorite scenes in like the Star Wars franchise. It's when
mhm.
Ahsoka and Vader are fighting, and that whole dialogue exchange right there that ends with her saying, "I am no Jedi." I love that
Yes.
whole exchange.
Yes, me too. Me too. I'm right there with it. I'm like, they're just that whole thing is just so dramatic and amazing. And you're just on the edge of your seat, like, yes, Ahsoka, tell him you are no Jedi, kick his ass.
Kick his ass.
Right. That whole fight was so good. But those episodes were super intense because that's also those episodes are when Kanan also like loses his eyesight
Mm-hmm.
because of
Yeah,
Darth Maul.
I was gonna say that's a
Hmm.
super cool dynamic in the show too. What I will say is I do hate the world between worlds as just as a concept in Star Wars altogether.
Oh, I
I,
love the world between worlds.
oh god, yeah, and the I didn't like that that's how Ahsoka ended up living. Like, we already knew she ended up surviving that fight somehow. You know, uh,
Yeah.
we see her walking out at the end of season 2 in that episode. But like, I would have preferred something to happen to separate them or something. You know, like, because we know they both walk away. Darth Vader obviously doesn't die either.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. I didn't like that. It seems like purely a narrative element. You know, like a way to bring people back or introduce the multiverse to Star Wars.
I think it just
Mm.
needs to be like explored a little bit more
Mm.
because I feel
Yeah.
like it is almost used as like a plot device right now. And I feel like
Hmm.
if they explored it more, then maybe more people would be like cool with it.
Mm. Hmm.
For
I
sure.
can see what both of you are saying for sure. Like, I mean, I love the world between worlds, but I also get the frustration with it because it can seem a little bit like Deus ex machina, where okay,
Yeah.
something shows up and just magically saves this person. And it can maybe seem a little bit too convenient, so I totally get that. I think for me it made sense just in the way that, because I'm also a very spiritual person, and so for me there are all sorts of dimensions and everything everywhere, literally. So I was like, oh, there's another dimension they tapped into, cool, that's the thing that happens. I was not thrown off by that remotely. I thought it was
Good.
cool.
I didn't think of it that way actually, and that's a good perspective. For
Yeah, I just, and even with the multiverse stuff, like it can be, I think it's probably hard to write for some people looking at you, Marvel, because if you get away from this whole aspect of it just being like truly alternate dimensions and you start using it as just a way to get person A to place B, then it gets really boring really quick. But if you remember that, hey, this is an alternate dimension with alternate rules, which Endgame used pretty well. The whole time travel thing, I thought they did it perfectly. And then it kind of got messed up by the time we got to Doctor Strange. Hate that movie so much.
You don't like Multiverse of Madness?
I hate that movie so
I'm
much.
with you on that actually. I really was really excited for a Raimi
Me
Marvel movie,
too.
and I ended up super disappointed. I hated it.
I think I only like it because I like Evil Wanda.
She's cool. She's
Oh no,
cool.
Wanda in that movie is incredible.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
super incredible, but the storyline is whack for me. I
So
don't like the multiverse. I don't like the angle they took with the multiverse. But
not at
Well, I
all.
think they fucked themselves up a little bit because I don't know if you guys remember this, but Multiverse of Madness and No Way Home were supposed to be swapped, like their release dates.
Mm-hmm.
So then when they ended up swapping the release dates, they had to do a ton of like rapid reshoots. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that's part of why Multiverse of Madness ended up being like so disappointing to so many people because there was so much
Mm-hmm.
shit happening behind the scenes, like late in production.
I could totally see that. Definitely. It goes back to the whole planning thing we are talking about with Star Wars. Like when you mess up your plan, it does carry through. It's noticeable. You have to stick to your plan.
Or when
Delay
they
a
don't have a
movie.
plan, yeah, then it's very
Right.
noticeable.
Right.
I think that's what we saw with the sequel trilogies in Star Wars
Absolutely.
too. Is they
Mm-hmm.
did not have a plan.
And it was
Not
pretty
only the
predictable.
writers and directors, but Star Wars itself. Like as a business, did not have a plan. They had what they wanted to do, but they didn't have a
Right.
clear plan for it.
Right.
And I
You
think
have
that's
to
what fucked
have
them up.
for storytelling of all things. Like if you're starting a project, you would make a plan if you wanted it to succeed, right? You're telling this complicated story. Yeah, you should plan that out and not just go by the seat of your pants. It's not
Yeah,
going to work.
it's. I think the biggest problem is they just let the directors do whatever the fuck they wanted. They didn't tell them
Yeah,
like this is the overarching story. They were like, yeah, just do what you want,
it did not work at all.
which
Did
is
not
how
work at
we have the
all.
script for Duel of the Fates.
Right. I know. Like, please. Oh God, I want them to just make that whole thing over. The sequel trilogy is not my generation, so I am very much outside of it. But I wish that they would just remake all those movies. 'Cause-
I loved 7 and I liked 8.
Mhm.
It's 9. 9 screws the whole thing.
So
Like
9, like, have y'all heard me go off about 9 before?
no,
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 go
go off,
for it.
girl,
Bro,
go off.
episode 9 is my least favorite movie in existence, man. There aren't words for how much I hate that movie, like everything about it.
Yeah.
And people always say shit to me. They're like, "Oh, you only don't like it because Ben dies." And I'm like, "Dude, every time I try to rewatch that movie, I get 30 minutes in and then I get so angry that my mom asks me to turn it off because my face gets bright red." And he dies like 2 hours in. So it's definitely not that.
Right, right. What happens 30 minutes in that like sets you off? I've only seen it once.
I think a lot of times I'll be trying to watch it and I love the opening scene. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love when Ben is killing the people on Mustafar and he gets the Wayfinder, which is a fucking Sith holocron, but JJ's an idiot. And then he goes to
Mm-hmm.
Palpatine, and then there's like the moment with like when Rey's training. I like all of
Mm-hmm.
that, but then when Rey is like, "I will earn your brother's saber one day," that just feels like the biggest slap in the face.
Mm. Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Because
Yeah,
like
I
the
mean,
saber chose her in episode 7. She didn't have to
Mm-hmm.
earn it. So her saying in episode 9, like, "Oh, I'll earn your brother's saber," it just felt like a slap in the face to like women, and it would
Mm.
feel like it was just there to like make the two
yes,
bros
I
a little more happy.
totally agree. And
Mm.
it was like he retcon because that was JJ
Yeah.
retconning JJ's own
Right.
thing.
It's crazy. Yeah. I definitely see what you guys are saying 100% about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's
And
some good stuff in 9 for sure, but yeah, like overall, it was just a failure.
yeah, because
And
Mm.
it's so annoying because there are a few scenes that are just like so good, but then the rest
Mm-hmm.
of the movie is just pure shit, and it's like it doesn't. The good scenes don't make up for how bad the rest is to me.
yeah, and I mean that
Yes.
fight, the opening fight, like I said, that's I love that fight,
Yeah.
and this not only the fight itself, but the cinematography, the way they go through different worlds and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
it's incredible. It's great. There's a lot good there. It's overall
Also,
an execution
like
failure.
you have his power has got to be just one of the worst lines in Star Wars.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Like
100%.
that, so much of that movie feels like a fuck you to female fans.
Oh, yes. Oh, man. What a mess overall. Okay, last question that I have prepared. I didn't prepare any other questions, which I guess you've already kind of brushed on this. The last question is, what's the worst media, so the worst book, movie, show, game. So I'm guessing for you it's gonna be Rise of Skywalker.
100%. All day, every day. And I include all of the EU trash in that too. Like because there was some really bad EU stuff. There was some really great EU stuff, but there was also some really bad EU stuff. Exactly. Tell him.
Like
I've heard that.
Like Chewbacca getting a moon dropped on him.
Yes, and
What?
Luke's hand becoming a second Luke who was evil, like
Right?
that. Yes, there was a lot of bad stuff, but Rise of the Skywalker takes the cake for sure.
Oh well, yeah. Yeah, I don't really have an answer. Do I? Oh no, I do. No, I do. I lied. I do. For me, it is Book of Boba Fett.
Ooh, valid.
Yeah.
I didn't even watch it because I was waiting till it was over. But then
Mm-hmm.
everyone said it was so bad. I was like, I'm just not going to.
Yeah, no, spare yourself. I mean, there's literally like 3 episodes or 2 episodes that are worth it because it goes back to Din Djarin and
Yeah.
baby into Grogu.
Yeah, that's the thing. You have to watch those 2 episodes at least to
So weird.
understand Mandalorian season 3 and probably the movie too. So
Such a weird decision. And I feel like Favreau's always like that because John Favreau he like he's doing the Mandalorian. He's a major showrunner on that. He started the MCU off with Iron Man. And then suddenly, because Iron Man's a brilliant movie,
Yeah.
suddenly it drops off really hard with Iron Man 2. And then drops off really, really hard with Iron Man 3. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, it's like he can't keep up his own pace.
Personally, I
Um,
like Iron Man 2, but I do not like
mhm,
Iron Man 3.
yeah, there's good stuff to see in both of them. I think. Like when I first saw Iron Man 2 and 3, when I first saw them, I was like, whoa, these movies are bad. But then when you go back to them, Iron Man 2 has a lot of good moments. It has Black Widow, Black Widow's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. It has the whole thing with Coulson like going back and forth. It has Tony discovering a new element. So it has so many good scenes. I just like with the sequel trilogy in Star Wars, they just needed to like do the plan a little bit better for Iron Man
Exactly.
2.
Yeah.
It was not planned out very well, in my opinion. But yeah, Favreau, I feel like like he started off so strong on Mandalorian season 1. It's just like perfect chef's kiss, amazing, amazing series. Season 2, still good, but he's kind of like going off the rails a little bit. And season 3 was like a hot mess. It's like, what happened
God.
with season
Yeah.
3?
I remember I was like a senior in college, I think. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like 3 a.m. and I had like just gotten home from the bars and I was like still drunk. And that's when the finale of Mando season 2 dropped.
Uh-huh.
And when I watched that episode, I was like so fucking angry. And my friend was watching it with me, and I think I like yelled. And my
Mm.
roommates came out and they were like, "What the fuck are you doing? It's 3 a.m." And I was like, "Fucking Star Wars, just go back to bed. Just leave me to be a nerd because I'm so angry right now because I hate the season 2 finale."
Oh, well, you missed the part where we were talking about how much we love the season 2 finale.
Really?
So, yes.
I mean,
But go
I
ahead.
respect it. I just don't like it.
Tell us. We've already talked about why we love it, but tell us why you hate it. Tell us why it's horrible. I'm
um,
genuinely interested. I want to know.
I don't like that like creepy ass CGI Luke Skywalker that comes in.
Oh no.
First I just don't like how like they did the stuff with his face because they literally just could have
Mhm.
had Sebastian Stan walk in with a wig and it would have worked. Because the CGI throws me off, and I don't like how he takes Grogu because I'll be right back.
Okay, she got a customer. All right, so it's just me because it looks like JC dropped off to take care of his children, which is amazing. His baby son is so cute on the audio, but clearly he has parent duties. And Liana has to take care of a customer. She might be back or she might not be back. Who knows? That was my last question. We're about 10 minutes to the end of the planned show, but I can always end it early. But I don't know. Should I talk about anything else? Or you guys who are listening, uh, just give me an emoji. Give me any emoji. Show me what's going on. What are you feeling right now? So I think I'm just gonna finish off with that bit about the media, Book of Boba Fett. All right, awesome. Um, I think that Book of Boba Fett it had a lot of potential because Boba Fett is awesome, as JC and I were talking about at the beginning of the show. Boba Fett's an amazing character. He needs to be like really dived into. He needs to have a really good story. He did not have that story in the series. I don't know what they were doing. And I love Temuera, but I think from what I've heard, part of it was his fault because he wanted a really peaceful story for Boba Fett. He wanted him to like be more diplomatic. And I love him so much. He's an amazing actor, an amazing guy, but that is not Boba Fett Temuera. I'm sorry. Boba Fett is a scoundrel. He's a bounty hunter. He's not a good guy. He took Han Solo away from Leia and sold him to Jabba the Hutt. Like, this is not a good person. Like, we needed that Boba Fett, who is a scumbag and disgusting. We want to see him for the entire series, but we don't want to see him be peaceful and solving problems and helping people for no reason. Like that was not Boba Fett, you guys. So that was definitely the worst to me. Um, and a close runner up for me is Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I didn't want to say with JC on here because I know that he loves Obi-Wan Kenobi a lot. The series, we love him as a character. The series, I felt like just needed a lot of work. It was not done well. Again, all the problems that all the trolls say that the Acolyte has, the bad pacing and bad writing and bad acting. I felt like Obi-Wan Kenobi had all of those problems in spades. In spades. Just especially I remember this one part near the end. Ugh, and they're like trapped in this cave or something. And that whole thing was just a horrible episode. It's just really badly done. The acting was bad all around. What's his name? Ice Cube's son, Shay Jackson. Sorry, Shay Jackson, I love you, but you're a horrible actor. Dear God, dear God, can you not act at all? Just get him off the screen. But that nobody in that scene was acting at all. They're just like reading. It's like someone put a script in front of them. They're just reading their lines. No energy, no characterization. Just let's just read this line off the page bit by bit and hopefully that'll come off well for the audience, and it did not come off well. It was really bad. So those are my two worst media: Book of Boba Fett and Obi-Wan Kenobi. So we're coming up on 7:30 over here on the East Coast. We do have in about 30 minutes our watch party, and I will drop the link for that in this chat and in the thread as well, probably, if I can get to my bookmarks. Because we're gonna be watching episodes, what are we gonna be watching? Episodes 4 and 5. And we're gonna have popcorn. No, we're not gonna have popcorn. I don't have it in my bookmarks, but I will drop it in the thread after the space is over. We're gonna be talking. It was a lot of fun yesterday. So we'll be watching episodes 4 and 5, and then tomorrow episodes 6, 7, and 8 of The Acolyte. Back to The Acolyte, not the rest of Star Wars, just The Acolyte. And hopefully you guys can come out for that too if you're listening to this, because it's a good time. Or if you were there yesterday, then come on back for the second day. And I think that's gonna be just about it. Star Wars, Disney, Lucasfilm, bring us back the Acolyte. It is one of the best, if not the best, Star Wars property that you have produced, and you're getting new fans every day, and you need to keep getting more new fans by renewing it for season 2, season 3, and the movie, as was the original plan. We want the show back, and we're gonna support it when it comes back. We're gonna pre-order the visual guide. We're gonna buy the merch. We're gonna show up for this show. So go ahead and give us back this show. Okay, that's it for us. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate you. It's so awesome to have you guys here with us. Thanks to the speakers that were